People who have called the number below, how's my driving on commercial trucks? What happened? I called when a semi was driving fast and ran a stop sign on a small mountain road. The lady that answered the call acted clueless, like, why am I calling this number? I had to tell her that this is the number that is on the back of the truck. How am I driving? I took a picture of it on my phone, so I knew I had the right number. I felt that it was just there for show. I've actually seen those stickers be very cleverly altered with black and white tape bits so that a digit in the phone number looks like a different number from more than 5 feet away. My mom and I were on the highway and a truck cut us off, slamming on the horn and just going from the left lane to the right quickly. I warned my mom and she had to hit the brakes and go into the shoulder. I saw the sticker and we called. The receptionist thanked us for calling and radioed the driver immediately. We couldn't hear what they said, but they said the driver was informed. The driver ran a red light in a school zone during after school release. I called the company, they apologized, and changed the truck route so it didn't go through a school zone. Dull story, but successful. I love how that solution doesn't address the immediate problem of the bad driver, but still presents a good long-term solution. A truck with a load of gravel didn't have a tarp over the load. I was unlucky enough to be behind them and got a nasty chip and crack across my windshield. I didn't have good expectations, but called anyways. The lady who answered was really nice. Transferred me to a guy who gave me a ref number and location for an auto shop, and had a new windshield by the end of the week. They were very apologetic. I was just grateful not to have to deal with insurance and my side of the cost. That's good to know. It might be worth a call in those situations. I called one once. It was Canada Day and I was driving on the 401 through Toronto. Traffic was pretty thick, and cars were doing dumb things. This truck driver beside me took everything in stride and just handled everything so calmly. I called the number on his truck, and the guy on the other end sounded really defensive, like he was waiting for me to tear into him. I gave him the truck's identifying info and complimented the driver. He was surprised and happy to hear it. I strongly believe that good work should be mentioned to superiors as well as bad work. It's been my New Year's resolution a few years in a row to mention to managers when I get good service. It's not much effort from me, but the recognition could make a big difference to the employee. I don't know, guys. This seems pretty Canadian to me, in a good way. I called because the sun was just starting to set and I noticed the headlights on the truck were dimming a bit every 10 or so seconds. I'm sure they couldn't tell it was happening, but it could have been dangerous for them when it got darker. The people on the phone were a little surprised I wasn't calling in a complaint, but said they would call the driver ASAP to pull over and figure out what was wrong. Either a weakened battery or the alternator was starting to slowly fail. It was probably happening each time the truck shifted. This happens in regular cars too. A tow truck driver wasn't paying attention and merged into my lane and almost ran me off the road, so I honked my horn at him and he responded to that by miming a blowjob at me. So I called the company, because frick that guy. Yay, that guy has a weird way of saying sorry. South on I-5, 70 miles per hour in the left lane, cruise control. In the right lane was a FedEx double trailer tailgating a car doing 55 miles per hour. Legal limit for trucks in Oregon. Decided to cut me off with about 20 feet bumper to bumper. Brake checks me, then crawls past the car on the right at 56 miles per hour. As I passed him he flipped me off, so I got back behind him to get the number and his plate. Passed him and called. I guess the color of the arrow indicates whether it's international or not. Either green or purple. I don't remember which is which, but he was international. It didn't sound like they were pleased with his actions, and I guess they can track him by GPS, so hopefully he was let go, but I doubt it. FedEx takes that stuff very serious. Every complaint causes a fine for the owner of the route. The owners take it seriously. A wreck in the truck, your fault or not, will be cause for termination. See how everyone is bad? My wife called one once cause their driver avoided an accident. Some idiot switched lanes without looking and the van handled it like a champ. If he hadn't, we all would have been in an accident. So wife called and left a good review telling them that person is paying attention. Some old biddy got cranky and started arguing that it was my fault the driver ran the stop sign and hit my car. As it so happens, the guy in the Porsche behind me was a civil attorney. He asked to talk to her, so I handed him the phone. 5 minutes later, I had his business card and a promise from the old biddy to pay my insurance deductible. That's a wild lawyer. They are usually only seen in firms, so consider yourself very lucky. The woman who answered took my statement, then passive-aggressively argued with me that their drivers don't drive like that and I must have misinterpreted his driving. B. He speed up, cut me off on a lake merge, and nearly shoved me into the curb. Lucky for me, I ended up in a driveway just missing the curb check. Yeah, based on these stories, that woman lied out of her butt. Didn't call the number on the back of the truck, called the cops instead. Driving down the highway in the middle of the night and this 18-wheeler was going 90 miles per hour in a 65, weaving in and out of lanes, and driving down the middle of 2 lanes. Dude seemed to have a wish to die or kill people. Dispatcher told us to stay back but keep up with his and tell them exactly what he was doing and how fast. About 5 minutes up the road there were cop cars and troopers at each overpass entrance ramp, and the last one we get to, a cop speeds up from that entrance ramp and forces the diesel to the side of the highway to pull over. Was crazy to say the least. Had this happened to, driver was definitely drunk or had a medical incident. Semis freak me out as it is, so this was terrifying. We had dashcam footage of the driver being an idiot, spoke to the owner of the company and got an apology. The truck driver tried to intentionally run us off the road because he was stuck in traffic and my lane was clear. It was a 2-lane highway. Apparently I wasn't allowed to pass him. I get this a lot. They pull in and block the lane. Should be illegal. I called because I saw Semi get into an accident on the highway and it wasn't their fault. The driver pulled over and the other car pulled off. I said I would testify for the driver but never heard back. If it makes you feel better, depending on when this happened, there's a good chance the Semi had a camera or 2. The companies and drivers are buying them now that they're cheaper since it'll save them in insurance in the long run. Not all, of course, but quite a few. One time I was driving around with a friend and saw one of those, and just for the heck of it I called the number. First they asked lots of questions about when and where, and finally asked for the reason I was calling. I told them I was just calling to let them know they were doing a good job. Person I spoke to seemed a bit taken aback, but my friend and I thought it was hilarious. TLDR, called once to compliment the driver on their safe driving. I was on the receiving end of a how's my driving call. I was the office assistant and handled the calls. The person calling was thanking the driver for avoiding an accident. One day my wife and I were driving and started to discuss this topic while driving behind a truck with that sticker on its bumper. We decided to call the number. It was a recording. I essentially said, I want to report this driver for being one of the best I've ever seen. He is stopping at all lights, not even running yellow, going the speed limit and maintaining a safe distance from other cars, even using his turn signal. Please give him a raise. I hope he got a raise. It'd be funny if he was an owner-operator. Looks like I'll be giving myself that raise finally. My friend and I tried to call once because the guy, or girl, driving was obviously drunk or had something wrong. They were swerving over the yellow on this 2-lane back road, can't see around the next turn road near my friend's house. Both times we tried to call, we got a no connection tone or a message saying the person was unavailable. Later we tried to look up the company name from the side of the truck but we were not able to find anything about it on the internet. We've tried calling that number a couple times since, about 6 months ago, out of curiosity, but just keep getting the same no connection tone. Not a how's my driving story, but it's relevant. About 9 years ago I was walking my dog along the fence outside of a park. I did this every evening. This particular neighborhood had no sidewalks or speed bumps. They actually added speed bumps a couple of years ago after many accidents involving children, including one death. Speed limit there is 15 miles per hour. The roads are narrow. Anyway, as I was walking my dog, a group of kids were leaving the playground. I was standing in the grass and a car turned the corner doing at least 40 miles per hour, zooming between me and the children on the other side of the street. I noticed that the vehicle belonged to a pizza delivery driver. There was a magnetic sign on the side of the vehicle. I didn't catch the name or phone number. I googled nearby pizza places on my way home. Ended up finding one with the exact same logo on the vehicle. It was about 10 minutes away. I called and asked for the manager. Owner got on the phone. I explained that I wasn't 100% sure because I didn't get the name of the restaurant as the driver was going too fast. I simply explained what I witnessed. He then asked the color and type of car. I gave him my best description. He then sounded very irritated. He named the park where it occurred and told me that it was definitely his employee. He said the employee didn't even work that day, shouldn't even have the magnet on his vehicle if he's not on duty. His exact words were freaking stupid butthole doing stupid crap with the name of company. That's where he lives and so he should know the speed limit there. I have children of my own. He can't drive for me anymore. He thanked me for calling. Hung up. I was proud of myself. Dickhead deserved to be fired. He said the employee didn't even work that day, shouldn't even have the magnet on his vehicle if he's not on duty. I'm surprised those companies don't make their drivers turn in the signs before they go home for the day. We were doing 10 over the speed limit when this big rig just blasts past us. Dude was going at least 10-15 miles per hour more than us. Call the company number and get connected just in time to watch them take a turn and tip over into the ditch. Inform the company of where their driver is currently and why, and then call the cops about it. Our instant karma. When I was 19, I worked for a furniture warehouse. My boss asked me late Friday if I could do him a favor and take one of the work vans and drop off a bed frame to a customer after the delivery guys went home. I drive out, drop it off, no problem. On the way back, some butthole in a Mustang 5.0 cuts me off within inches of my front bumper in the fast lane. I honk and flip him off. He decides he's going to brake check me and then pull up beside me, trying to run me into the divider. I immediately slow down and try to move into the slow lane where dudes follow me and proceed to frick with me for 5 miles and then finally speeding away. When I get back, my boss asks me if I had any issues on the way back. I'm like, why do you ask? Apparently the guys called the number on the van and told them I was harassing them on the freeway. I immediately start telling him what happened before he interrupts me and says, you don't need to worry, man. I told them to frick off. Saw some C-kid act in a fool in an ad truck. Called the number. Woman literally spent 20 minutes trying to get me to cough up my account number, while I spent 20 minutes trying to convey that I don't have an AAT account at all, and that shouldn't even matter. At minute 19 I exploded and just rudely gave her the truck number and said, you guys better keep an eye on this stupid mother before he kills someone. People like this rarely just kill their dumbass selves, and something like, if he swerves at me again, I won't move, and when I get sideswiped I am gonna frick his world up. Then I am gonna frick up At's bank account. Good day. So then hung up. I hated sounding like an internet tough guy, but needing an account number to be about a crappy driver is nanas. This really irks me, when they make you go through all kinds of hoops before helping you. Sometimes, you just wanna say something and not give them your first and last name, account number, phone number, email address, physical address, eye color, PIN number, and DNA sample before you ask your question about whether or not they're open on Sundays. I was waiting in line at a fast food place once and the driver in front of me accelerated so quickly that he almost hit me. There was 2 lines and I was the next to move up, but he selfishly beat me to it. Then he proceeded to yell at me and curse at me. I saw his "how's my driving" sticker on his bumper and I called the number to complain that this guy almost hit my car by being a dickhead. The lady who was doing the reporting sounded so disinterested. Told me she was going to send the report over to the correct people and that was it. I don't know if anything resulted out of it, lol. I have a weird hobby of calling those numbers to report that they are fabulous drivers, even if they are pretty mediocre. I embellish too. I also enjoy trying to remember store clerks' names so I can email the company and give them a glowing compliment. I've done it for our garbage driver, the janitor at work, the gardener for our apartment building, the guy at the print shop, tons of baristas. Once you start doing it, it's an addicting hobby. It's the tiniest thing, but I know if my boss told me I got a compliment I'd be super excited, so it makes me weirdly happy to do it. I do this, too. Can confirm Ray, addicting hobby. My friend does HVAC work. He decided to put his number up on the side of the truck to help with advertising and picking up new work. One day a lady called, but not to inquire about a job, but just to complain about their driving. My buddy simply responded with, "I'm so sorry mom. He's a new driver and we'll fire him at the end of his shift." Little did she know that it's a one-man business. Ops. I wished I could have called, but couldn't. Guy in a semi was an insane butthole. It was years ago so I don't remember specifics, but I do remember there were constant close calls with other cars because of his recklessness while I was behind him. He knew he was a dangerous driver because he had scratched off the number to call on the sticker. Looking back, I should have called the police instead. That's another level of bad truck driver. When we receive a complaint call, we tell the caller that we'll pull the dashcam video and address the concern immediately. In one case, we could clearly see the caller cut off our driver, female, then brake check her, but with two-way facing cameras, we could also see our driver give the finger to the caller, right up. Most of the time, though, it's really minor stuff involving speed or signaling. I work for a large manufacturing entity. When those calls come in, they either end up at customer experience or go direct to the transportation manager for the entire company. He pulls camera footage from the trucks and either docks the drivers or 9/10 lets the shady person who is trying to claim something that didn't actually happen know there's no footage, and he'll be sharing their false claims with the local cops. It usually ends there. I used to work midnight and every morning on my way home I'd be on the road with a cable van that would drive like a maniac, speeding, swerving in and out of traffic, etc. One morning he cut me off and I got pissed, so I called the "How's my driving" number on the back, expecting it to be an automated system. When a real person answered, my introvert mind panicked and I went crap and hung up. That girl probably wonders to this day why somebody called just to yell crap in their ear. Fellow introvert checking in. I know that feeling. One time me and my little sister were driving behind one of these vans which was driving about 15 miles per hour under the speed limit on a one-way back road in our hometown. My sister decided it would be funny to call in just to see what happened, and when the person picked up she told them the van number and that they were going incredibly slow. We then saw the driver of the van give us the bird through his back windshield. Apparently the owner of the company was driving that day. He went even slower after this. Okay, kinda related. So my family owns a business and the number we have on the back of our trucks routes directly to my dad's phone. He was driving the truck by chance one day and a young guy in a lowered modified Subaru was driving extremely aggressively all around my dad, switching lanes, cutting him off, brake checking him, etc. Somehow my dad ended up in front of him and the guy is stuck behind him on a one-lane road, and my dad suddenly gets a call on his phone. "Hi, I would like to report one of your drivers. They just totally cut me off and are driving recklessly. They need to be fired. It's some old guy driving like a total idiot." My dad just started laughing, said, "Yeah, that's me. You are on the phone with the person that you have been cutting off and brake checking for the past 10 minutes. He said the guy just went silent and hung up. We all got a good laugh out of that. I had a truck driver cut me off and then flip me the bird when I honked. I called in the number and the lady just signed and said, "Oh, I know who that is." My former boss called the number on the back of a truck as he was driving a car which was towing a trailer and wasn't able to overtake the truck. The truck was the middle lane as a car pulling a trailer isn't allowed to go on the outside lane in the UK. On the motorway, they got through to the company who couldn't quite understand what was going on, but the company eventually, a full 10 minutes, got hold of the driver and the truck pulled over. A semi almost ran us off the road once. We took a picture of the license plate and called the number. They told us we needed to give them the number on the cab, not the license. It was a waste of time and seemed very scummy. There was a semi in front of me, going the proper speed limit, staying in the lines, following the laws of the land. I called the "How's my driving" number, and the lady who picked up was quite surprised to hear that all I wanted to do was compliment the driver. She said she'd pass on the information. The call was rather uneventful, just like how the driver was driving. Thank you, uneventful truck drivers. Your courteous and cautious driving keep us safe. I used to work for a delivery company in Seattle. I had someone call the number saying I had cut her off. When I asked my manager, who had just transferred from a branch out of state the week before, he was livid. said it was unacceptable. When I asked where I cut this person off at, he showed me the paper. All my Seattler folk will understand why this is total BS. On southbound I-405 in downtown Seattle passing the Space Needle. For starters, 405 doesn't go through Seattle. And 2, I was going northbound that day. After I explained to him and showed him the map of the area, he cooled off. I called, sobbing, after the driver almost ran me and my infant child off the road. I happened to be in the same very small town that the truck was based out of, so while I was on hold waiting to talk to someone, I pulled into their parking lot. The truck who almost took me out was in the parking lot. I stayed in my car and tried to explain what happened to the person that finally answered, but the guy who drove the truck apparently walked into the office while I was on the phone, heard what the girl was talking about and picked up the phone to start screaming at me because I honked my horn while he was forcing me into the center divider. Then he realized that I was out front and started charging towards my car that was parked out front. I almost hit him with my car, trying to book it out of the parking lot because I was convinced he was going to bash my window in by the look on his face. I called the non-emergency police line after I left and they basically told me because I don't have a dash cam, I don't have a case. Jesus Christ. Sorry that happened to you. I hope you left the company a pretty bad review on Google and or called the next day to speak to the manager. This will probably get lost, but here it goes. My dad's work truck had a "How's my driving" number. One day, bored sitting outside, I decided to call. I made up a story about how I witnessed the driver, aka my dad, almost get into an accident with a woman merging into his land. Instead of freaking out, said driver pulled up next to the car at a light and told the woman it was okay and to have a nice day. Something along those lines. Anyway, the next day when my dad gets home from work, he tells us how he got an attaboy because someone called to compliment his attitude toward the lady. No one had gotten one in 10 years. I never told him that it was actually me who called. He was so proud of himself. This made my heart happy. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.